Again, Gills fans and Chesterfield fans, welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Sunday, which of course means it's match day review showtime. And luckily, for the third weekend in four so far, we're going to be talking about a Gills win with Reese. And I'm lucky to say we are joined by a Spire Rights fan today. His name is Dave. You can find him on Twitter at Spire Legend, X for all the kids and whatever it's called now. Dave, first of all, appreciate you coming on the show. Welcome and thanks for joining us this morning.
No, thanks for having me. It's always good to have a chat about football.
It is, yeah. Well, I do enjoy it. Obviously, it's nice when you're winning more football matches, but we'll get to Chesterfield in more detail later in the show. But just quickly, I think they'd be absolutely fine in terms of challenging at the right end of the table. But as we always do, we start at 2:00. Sorry, Reese, how are you? I've not asked. How rude of me.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's well, I'm the same as you in terms of the victory yesterday. It's nice to be on some positive results at the start of the season. So, I'm great.
Absolutely.
I had a pizza yesterday, so, I'm feeling good.
Sorry to go off on a tangent, but I've just noticed it says knob on your football shirt.
Yeah, that's Newell's Old Boys, that is. That's the Argentinian team. That's when Messi started his career.
They could have just been more thoughtful with the abbreviation, couldn't they?
You would have thought so. It's a link to Kent, don't you? That guy,
I do, yes. Yeah, definitely, 100%. But that was
Yeah.
the first thing I noticed, and as I'm a massive child, I thought I'd bring it up. It just reminded me of
most-
Only Fools and Horses when Del Boy got the headed paper with tit at the top of it. Anyway, I've gone off on a massive tangent. We're here to talk about football and not knobs and tits. That's an entirely different channel, but you probably have to pay a subscription fee for that. And I do apologise if anyone's children are watching. Team news at 2:00 yesterday afternoon. Gills had to make 4 changes. I think some were tactical and some were enforced. It was Glenn Morris in goal, replacing the very injured Jake Turner, unfortunately. Back 4 was the same. Romeo Hutton, Max Ema, Shadogi and Max Clark. It was still Robbie McKenzie and Armani Little in that 2 in front. And then it was a trio of Jack Nolan, the recalled George Lapsley, the recalled Aaron Rowe, and making his EFL debut, Marcus Wiley was the lone striker. For Chesterfield, same system, it looked like, certainly at the start. It was Boot in goal, a back 4 of Daly Campbell, Naylor, Dunkley and Gordon. Former Gill, Darren Oldacre, was partnered with Banks in the middle of the park, and then it was Berry, Dobler and Markande supporting Grigg in what was, on paper at least, a very, very potent front 4. Dave, I'm going to come to you first. What I do is I write a paragraph down just to sum up the game, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty and all the bits that made up that paragraph. I put a game that had it all: chances, contentious decisions, posts and bars, red cards, but somehow just a solitary goal.
Yeah, absolutely. It could have ended 3-3 or a 4-3 or it could have ended with anything really, couldn't it? I think it was a game that was maybe ultimately decided in the first 15 minutes probably, and then that kind of set a tone for the rest of the game maybe. But I thought it was a good game, because I think so far this season we've played quite a few teams that wanted to just defend and kind of engage in the dark arts a bit. I'm talking about kind of Salford, and so it was nice having a game where 2 teams were going to go at each other a bit, and it was going to be quite open, and teams were going to attack each other, because that's kind of, as a fan, that's the kind of thing you want to see, isn't it? So I thought it was a good game, and it could have ended up with any old scoreline in the end.
Absolutely. Luckily for us, it ended up 1-0 to Gills, Reese, but we will get onto that. First incident was in about 30 seconds. Yellow card for Shadogi. I've never seen anything like it. I can't remember a faster red card watching a game live. I'm going to say the referee set the tone, but he didn't really, and we'll get to him a bit later, because I don't know if it was just because it was so early in the game that I'd not fully switched on, because normally I'm just recording my opening segment for the match day vlog. So I sort of just pressed record, ready to do first half underway. And then next thing you know, there's a free kick and there's a yellow card come out. Can you two help me out? Was it deserved? Was it not? From my vague memories of the game, I didn't think it was entirely deserved. I mean, I hate the rule where you go, oh, it's early in the game, so it's not a booking. But I didn't think it was a challenge or anything that warranted a caution that early.
I actually thought, so first and foremost, I'm in the same position as you, Matt, because I was doing my slight intro bit as well, where I focused talking to the camera more on the game, and then I didn't really see it, and all I know is a yellow card's come out. So I'm kind of in your bracket of this. I mean, I have the luxury of the replay, which foolishly I haven't seen, but no. So I'm actually not as aware as you are as this as well.
No pressure then, Dave.
Yeah, it's straight red for me. No, I mean, I thought probably 80% of the yellow cards in that match didn't really need to be given out. I think I'm kind of a bit old school with football. I just think let kind of footballers play. It's a contact sport. You know, you're going to get players that are a bit late sometimes. If they do, give them a bit of a warning. I don't know. It felt like felt like one of those typical referees that kind of liked giving everything in the middle of the third of the pitch, and then probably if ever he had ever had anything really tricky to give, he'd have probably not wanted to give it for either team. Probably it's just one of those weird. You get it quite a lot with referees, don't you? I think a lot of it could have just been let go, give them a word type thing. It's two good attacking teams that wanted to go at each other a bit, and it was kind of, obviously you'll talk about it later when you went down to 10, but that kind of spoiled the rhythm of the match a bit, and it became a one against the other, and you just kind of think referees don't really need to engage in that stuff, really, do they? It's better if you don't notice them rather than them, like you say, giving someone a yellow card after 20 seconds. Bit bonkers.
Yeah, and it always comes back to consistency as well, doesn't it? If they do the same things for both sides, I've got no issue with it, but I just felt that it was just very odd decisions throughout. But we will talk about him at the end of the show. Reece, though, we were sloppy first 5 minutes. We couldn't pass to anyone in a blue shirt. I don't like it when teams are handsy and they're grabby and they're trying to grab shirts, because it just seemed that Chesterfield were running past us too easy in that opening 5 minutes. We gave away, I think, a cheap free kick that was sent into our box, and we managed to defend it. But yeah, we just didn't get out of the traps, and Chesterfield certainly settled well, like a home team should, and we very much looked like the away team.
No, I totally agree. It's funny because right from when Shadozy makes that foul, gets a yellow card, already we're putting pressure on our own defence straight away. And I just think that 5 or 6 minutes, we couldn't recover any of that. It just felt we suddenly were on the back foot, and it was, and Chesterfield just took advantage of that motion of play right at the off. And I wonder if that was part of the game plan to a certain extent, because after winning the toss, obviously they changed sides, as every team that wins a toss at Priestfields does. And I just wonder if they tried to use that to advantage, get into the face of the Gills straight away, and it worked. And yeah, we looked a little bit lost for 5 or so minutes actually.
We did, and we were very lucky because the second foul that we gave away was someone that we're familiar with, certainly in terms of technical ability and set play ability, and that's Darren Oldacre. That was never a question when he was with us as a youngster. And we're very lucky to see that free kick cannon off the underside of the bar and bounce the correct side of the line for us.
Or did it?
I want to give kudos to, yes, it 100% did, yeah. That was as much in as that was a red card earlier. I want to give kudos to Marcus Wiley making his debut, because I didn't realise at the time he does really well to get back on the line and clear the rebound header from Will Grigg to prevent it from being 1-0. And I just thought, I know he's 25, so he's not a kid, but this is a player that's come out of, sort of 7, it's got to be what, 5 divisions below was he playing last season?
Something like that, yeah.
National League South, Isthmian Prem,
At
least 3 or 4, yeah. So he's making a big step up. So to be that alert in the first 5 minutes when he's probably nervous, I thought really was a good thing for him. Probably settled him down as well. There's then another half chance, Dave. I think it's your right back, Daly Campbell, who I thought was decent all afternoon. He got down the right-hand side and flashed the ball across the box. I think it was slightly behind people, but the little break falls to Mark Anday, and it's a snapshot first time, which I think he's asked to do because he's not going to have a touch. Just again goes over it's just the wrong side of the crossbar from your point of view. But in that first 6 minutes, you must have been very encouraged.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of a carbon copy of our first away game this season at Crewe. We scored really early in that game, and then we were 4-0 up after 25 minutes or something. I kind of felt a bit like that yesterday. If Oldacre's free kick, which, I mean, loads of people, obviously, like you do, put freeze frames, and some make it look like it's way over the line, some make it look like it's not, but either way, it don't get given, does it? So it's kind of irrelevant. But you kind of think if that goes in, or if Markande's shot, or, a good few blocks, things like that, if that puts us 1 up, you probably feel like they really get the confidence then to go and build on it. Whereas instead, you have a good first 10 minutes, 6 minutes, and then you just get caught on a set piece, and that kind of, then you could see them all kind of going into themselves a little bit for the next 10-15 minutes, and it was a bit of a struggle then for the next 10-15. So it was very much a game where the lick of paint of the woodwork or something like that could have made all the difference, but that's how it goes, isn't it?
That is football, yes. Fine lines all the time, various fine lines. But yeah, I remember saying to Boz during the match day live read, so I just said, bloody hell, we need to just keep the ball here for a minute or two. And then next thing I knew, we were 1-0 up. Again, it's a cheap free kick for me. I don't think there's much in it. It gets given. I think from our point of view, it's a really good goal. Jack Nolan, slightly different delivery, and he sort of drills it with his laces, so it's a flat one to the back post rather than that sort of curled one with the instep. Robbie McKenzie, I love a diving header. Again, slightly old school. They're dying out of the game. I love them, especially if you can get a good sort of still of the player in full hang mode, heading it in. Delirium in the Rainham end, of course. But I'm going to ask you, and then I'll ask Dave, because we say sometimes you just have to say it's a good goal. But is there a question mark over Chesterfield? Because Robbie McKenzie doesn't have to do a lot to become free at the back post. He literally just stands still and then steps back. And I think it's Che Dunkley who's picking him up. For a man of his experience, just leaves him unattended.
Right, I wonder if it's one of those ones where it's just an unfortunate defensive error from Chesterfield point of view, because no one tracks McKenzie at all. But it's also, McKenzie probably uses the opportunity. He sees that he can probably get away and knows that Nolan's going to put it to the back, or to the far right-hand side of the box. And I think there's a combination of both, really. The McKenzie knows where the ball is going to be delivered, so it's going to be delivered deep. So he runs there. And it just took no Chesterfield defender, whoever, really to track that that motion, and leaves McKenzie with a free header. So I think it's a combination of both. It's probably pre-planned to a certain extent, that move, but at the same time, you would think that at least one of the centre backs, Chesterfield, would track that motion. Maybe it's because it's at the start of the game. People are still finding their feet a little bit defensively from Chesterfield's perspective as well, because that's the first time they're really under a bit of pressure as well. And it was just, I think, a slight mistake from Chesterfield, but then McKenzie just took his chance excellently well.
Oh, yeah, it's a great header. Dave, I'm going to come to you because obviously I think it's when it's your own team, you tend to try and pick holes more in things like that. And I mentioned to the gentleman, I forgot his name, Liam, I think it was, who I had on the preview show a couple of days ago, and said that I saw similarities, maybe not to the same extent, between yourselves and Notts County when they came up and they got caught out defensively last season. And we know that you've tried to rectify that with some good signings. I think Daly Campbell, Dunkley, Gordon are all new arrivals to that back four. So in one sense, there's obviously going to be a little bit of time that's needed for cohesion. But for me, just as much as Reece says it's pre-planned and it's a good set play and a good header, Che Dunkley's got vast experience at this level. Why has he just let his man just walk off the back of him?
Well, interestingly, I thought it was actually Tom Naylor's man and not Dunkley's. So when I was looking at the replays,
we'll rewind. A man of Tom Naylor's experience.
Yeah, he seems to. Well, Tom Naylor's kind of was our player of the season, centre midfielder, and has ended up playing in defence because Jamie Grimes, who was the captain last season, has been injured. So Che Dunkley, would you expect a right centre back, has been playing left centre back. So they've had a bit of a rejig there for various reasons. But you kind of see Naylor kind of tracking him from the edge of the box, and then as soon as the referee blows his whistle, there's actually a really good block from a Gillingham player that stops him being able to track to his left. So I think it's actually quite good defensive play from one of your guys to block him off being able to track him. So as much as first time you look at it, you go, oh, that's abysmal defending, just leaving someone free on the far post, and undoubtedly it is. I think there's probably a bit of credit to one of your players as well that maybe just manages to block him off a little bit. I don't know whether I'm not I've never spent a minute on a football training pitch, so I may be completely wrong. It might have been another player meant to be blocking him and just completely didn't go with him. But
I've got the footage of the goal. Yeah, it's our captain, Max Amar, does really well to sort of step in front of Naylor.
Steps in front, stops him making a move to follow him.
In turn, falls in front of Dunkley, and then Mackenzie's got the space.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm being
it might have been a good defensive play, like an American football style block in the defensive.
But also, so if it was in the other box, you'd be claiming a penalty. So
yeah. So I think it was just a good block. But it's one of those things, and it was a good delivery on the free kick as well. And it's you can easily get a player that 50p's it over the bar, can't you? From there, so it's it's a good goal at the end of the day. You can't really complain about it too much.
No, delivery header, very good. The middle bits, like I say, you get caught up in the stadium and the emotion of it all, and you don't always get chance. But yeah, just looking back at the footage from my seat, yeah, there's definitely a very good. We'll call it a block. Chesterfield might call it a foul if they look close enough. So we'll move on quickly, Reece, and we'll go. There was another chance, and one could have become two very, very quickly. Chesterfield, for me, first half, I said to Boz again in the ground, I said, we're going to get chances because they're going to give us chances because they keep trying to have an extra touch in dangerous areas and they keep trying to pass through out from the back, and they're sloppy with it like we were in the first 5 minutes. And this came from an ever extra touch, and Robbie McKenzie done brilliantly, as he did all afternoon and has done all season. Pinched the ball. I think he's got, it might have been Aaron Rowe to his left. He's got Marcus Wiley making a good run to his right. He picks Wiley out. And I think Wiley, this is his first chance in the Football League. Like, this is his first glimpse of goal. So I think he's gone for power and said, I'm going to hit the target. He doesn't do a lot wrong. Combination of boot and the post sort of keep it out. The angle was funny. I can't really make it out from the highlights as well. It happens that quickly. But all of a sudden, the game had flipped completely on its head. We'd gone from looking startled for 5 minutes to suddenly being, after a quarter of an hour, in a position where we could have been 2-0 up.
I think it set the precedent for the whole half, actually. You know, it was 5 minutes of Chesterfield attacking us and us on the back foot, then it flipped again. And I have to say, that chance from Wiley when he's running forward, you know, it's a dream moment for him. He has an opportunity on his league debut to put in the back of the net and, you know, and having to really prove himself coming from the depths of the football pyramid. But, you know what I really liked about the motion of play, obviously, Robin McKenzie, for me, was also excellent all game and created a lot of opportunities as well and was there and all over the place. But that particular chance is, for me, I'm really pleased and I have so much positivity around Wiley for this, because you know he must be nervous. Of course he's nervous. He's got a real point to prove. He's banged in loads of goals who was at Enfield last season, and he's got to prove himself now at the EFL level. And he went forward and thought, you know, I'm going to whack this hard as I can. And do you know what? I think about 5 out of 10 of those go in. You know, it's just, and so I think it shows a good sense of confidence. He didn't look out of place at all, particularly in that motion of play, or for me, for most of the game, actually. And the first sort of 10 minutes, he's making an impact. He stops one off going on the line, and then he goes up the other end. It's a shot which could be on target or is near the goal anyway. So, you know what? It was exciting for a Gillingham perspective, and possibly from a neutral perspective, the game really became open and expansive.
Yeah, it just had a basketball type feel generally for the entire 90 minutes. There was very few sort of periods of play where it was settled down and you could just go, oh, breathe. I mean, I think Matt from Radio Kent interviewed Mark Bonner after the game, said he was absolutely exhausted commentating on it. So, like, fair play to both sets of players. Of course, it wouldn't be a Gills game at the moment without an injury and someone having to come off early. So that was Aaron Rowe's turn this week, unfortunately. Looked like the challenge looked really innocuous. I think he just got sort of pushed in the back on the halfway line, but went down, and I think Mark Bonner's alluded to he felt his hamstring. So fingers crossed we got to it before it's a real problem. But it's one to add to the list, and it's keeping the physio team busy. And that end-to-end sort of feel then carried on, Dave. And there was another chance for the Spyrites. I think there was a bit of a scramble on the edge of the box. Armando Dobro, who we know has got ability at this level, does really well to sort his feet out. Left-footed shot. Our keeper's planted. Base of the post. Liquor paint. Being a pain in the arse for you yet again.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you were doing, you brought out a different set of posts. I think at the start of each half, and just a slightly smaller set. And then when it hit the post and came out, it just kind of went just behind James Berry. You know, it goes half a yard to the other side, and it lands straight as his foot, and he's got a tap in. So yeah, I mean, great movement from Dobra. It's nice as well, like you were talking about, why they're seeing these players that are managing to drop down and then come back up again. You know, we've got it with quite a few players in our squad. We've had it with James Berry, who kind of fell out of love with the game, ended up at Macclesfield, scored loads of goals, and then he's kind of playing on our left now. We've had it with Oldacre as well, to obviously a certain degree, who kind of fell out of love with the game and was probably going right in the wrong direction, and then Dorking kind of helped him out, and then we ended up picking him up from Dorking, and apparently he's been a bit of a beast on the fitness this summer and kind of added that level to his game that was probably missing. So it's nice when you've got clubs like us that are kind of looking down the pyramid a bit at those players who kind of see it as their last opportunity to make it, and they know if they don't that they're out of the game probably. So yeah, off a bit of tangent, but it's nice seeing those players that
like
are having a bit of a revival.
We're big fans of tangents on the show, aren't we, Reece? It's absolutely fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
it just saves me talking about posts and crossbars.
saves me talking about OnlyFans subscription as well, which gets me in more trouble than you talking about posts and crossbars. So where was we again? Yes. Then there was another half chance, Reece, for us again, end to end. I'll just say end to end at the start of every sentence, I think, and it'll just save everyone a lot of time. But I thought this would be our best passage of play in the first half. Initially, we didn't quite get it right. I think Ramo Hutton overhits a free kick. Max Amer does really well, pops up on that far touchline, which he'll end up there in about 40 minutes' time as well, unfortunately, for an entirely different reason. He does well to recycle it and goes back halfway line. Little gives it to, I think, Max Clark. And then Max Clark plays one of the most delicious diagonals in the game. to go from left to right to get Jack Nolan away. And then I think there's a bit of interplay between him and Hutton, a couple of feints to cross. Chesterfield do well to get in front of the ball. Jack Nolan's cross is absolutely delicious as well. Like left-footed, in-swinging. I said at the time, live in the ground, so I want to get your perspective. I'm not going to ask Dave because he's probably got the same view as you. But for me, I was just screaming, why has Max Ehmer not just launched himself at it with his foot or his head? He sort of makes a half step and then stops. So I don't know whether I'm doing him a disservice and it's just that far in front of him. But for me, I just thought, just chuck yourself at it and you might end up with your first goal of the season.
If only he had that mentality like he had later on in the game, chucking himself at someone, you know. It's, you know, it's, if he, do you know what? Right, I think it might well be the difference between the intuition from between a striker and a defender, actually, and a striker probably reads it half a second earlier and goes, "Oh, I might be able to get on the end of that," but a defender probably takes an half a second longer to think about that, and then misses the opportunity. And, you know, and we will talk about the red card later. Maybe Max's intuition didn't work for him in that context for the red card. But if he had that striker mentality, for me, he gets a toe on that and it might go in the back of the net. Yeah.
Yeah, that maybe is the bottom line, is that he's a centre half in a centre forwards position, unfortunately, and that isn't his job at the end of the day. So there was a yellow card again. That was for Max Clark on the halfway line. I think he just stopped at the counter attack. So for me, I had no problem with that one. And I've actually written down, game settled down for 10 minutes up until half time and everyone could breathe. So we will. Just take a second. There we go. Second half started, Dave, and for me, it was exactly the same pattern as the early period of the first half. Chesterfield come out, they kept the ball, they were probing and pressing. We couldn't pass it to a blue shirt. And then if it wasn't a lick of paint that was annoying you, it was a linesman's flag. And it's a really good move that gets worked, I think, from left to right. The right back, Daley Campbell, puts in a really good ball, sort of that channel of uncertainty, I think they call it, or corridor of uncertainty. Centre halves don't want to go near it because they put it in their own net. Goalkeeper doesn't want to come out and get caught in no man's land. Marcandi reads it, puts it in. Again, I think it's tight, but I thought he had gone just too early. The replays are not entirely conclusive because of the camera angle, but at this point, you must have started to be feeling this might not be our day.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, I kind of had that feeling kind of throughout the match a little bit as it went on, where you just kind of think, oh, it's just not going in. And yeah, like you say, it's from where I was watching it from on my sofa. It was you kind of don't know unless you're right in line with it. It's got a quick decision to make, hasn't he? And you've got enough time in the game to score again anyway. So it looked like maybe he was just on or maybe just off. It was very close, but yeah, great passage of play. And with a Paul Cook team, he's going to kind of play the same way, which will frustrate fans sometimes. Fans sometimes will want to bring on, you know, your 6'6" striker and launch it and stuff like that. But Cook's never going to do that. He's always going to be passing it left to right and trying to go around you or through you rather than over. So it was, yeah, they kept kind of, chances were probably at a minimum, like our shots on target. We don't have any shots on target in the first half. There was lots of posts and things like that. Second half we did, but those clear cut chances were kind of at a premium, maybe at points. So yeah, it was just a slight bit, maybe the wrong side, but who knows? At that point, you kind of think, oh, you can kind of get into it. And then actually, when you got the red card, I thought, oh, that's it. That was 1-0. It'll just finish 1-0 because you can kind of see what the pattern of the game is going to be like after that. If it had stayed 11-11, I think we might have got a goal out of it, more likely than not. But there we go.
It's interesting you say that, because I said, I think as we walked out, I said I thought we were unbelievable 10. I thought we were better with 10. Not better with, yes, better with 10, but just because we just knew what we had to do. We had to just go 2 banks, 4, defend our box, play on the counter attack. I think with 11, we'd have still probably been slightly more open, which might then given you more clear-cut chances. But no, I thought we were, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I thought we was absolutely immaculate with 10 men against a very good side that, like you say, just move you around constantly and stretch you and try and get in behind. It's not like we was playing against a side with 10 men that just play big diagonals into a centre forward. So then you know what you're doing. Games in front of you, you just go and edit and clear it. This, you had to be switched on the whole time. We had to move people around. We had people cramping up, people were still playing that were running on empty and that type of thing. We probably had people on the bench that weren't fully fit. So from that sense, I thought we were absolutely superb. And all that came about, Reece, because there was a yellow card for Max Amer on the halfway line. I know there's been a couple of question marks over it on social media, which have since been cleared up, because I think there's a foul from either McKenzie or Nolan, tries to trip someone. Referee plays the advantage. And then Max Amer clips someone as well. So I think where the bone of contention was, the referee then gave the free kick from the first position, but still booked Max Amer. But I think the rules are if the foul is worthy of a yellow card, regardless of the situation before that, then you have to give the yellow card. So I think we've cleared that one up just about. Did you have any complaints with the first caution?
No, not at all. And also, it reminded me of a game a while ago up at Oldham we played, and I mean, I think we got a penalty in the. Yeah, it was a while ago. But we got a penalty. I think Tom Eaves was playing for us, and we got a penalty in the last few minutes when the ball was at the other end of the pitch, and it was just Tom Eaves who got like clattered or knocked over, and then we got a penalty. So, and the player got a yellow card for that as well. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the point in terms of parallel to this example. Yeah, like you go back to the original offence, and but because it's a foul regardless whether the ball was in play or not in play, it still can get pinged for a caution. And I think that's kind of what the referee was given it for. So as frustrating as it is, I have no problem with the actual caution of Max Amer anyway there.
Then we had one more chance before it became essentially a training exercise, because the red card came shortly after. But Max Clark, again, we'd seen that diagonal first half for the one that Jack Nolan then put his cross in. He does it again. From deeper this time. So deeper in the sense that he's playing it directly into the box rather than just a crossfield pass to get us moving. Jules Lapsley, who I thought was absolutely brilliant all afternoon, makes a great run in between the centre halves, because he knows he's got to be good with his movement, because he's not going to compete with Dunkley or Naylor aerially. So he's got to be smart and get in between them. He does that. It's that post again, Dave, that but this time it comes to your rescue. Jules Lapsley does all he can, glancing at it, it bounces down, it's the inside of the post and goes to safety. Similar to if Oldacre's free kick goes in or Dobra's chance goes in first half and Chesterfield take the lead. I think if that goes 2-0, we probably see out the game fairly comfortably. It doesn't go in, and then we make it even harder for ourselves. It's just such a frustrating red card, because Max Amer, I thought, was absolutely superb and he has been all season. He's been like a Rolls Royce this season. Like, he's just gone up a level again, and I'm a big fan. But for a player of his experience, that is daftness personified. The bloke's on the touchline. It's not like he's running through on goal. He launches himself at him. I think if you sort of screen record the replay and zoom in and slow it down enough, there might be a little nibble on the ball, but the referee doesn't get that benefit. So for me, it's just silly from the captain to be giving the referee a decision to make, and ultimately it's the correct call that he gets dismissed.
I think it's a really silly tackle from an experienced player who knows how to play the game at this level and knows that when he's going in for that tackle, being on a yellow, like did he forget he was actually on a yellow card? Like, genuinely, could that actually have been it? And he thought, like, but regardless, it's not a tackle you should be making, really, knowing that you say with the location of the play. So with that being said, it was a really unfortunate moment for us to go down to 10 men. But as you guys have already alluded to, when it happened, I was frustrated for 10 seconds, and I thought, oh, we're going to have to force our hand here a little bit, and it might go in our favour. We have to pack up tight in defence, and we can't play expansive football now. So there was a side of me that kind of went, well, maybe that might be weirdly helpful in a really sort of warped way.
Yeah, because I said to Boz again immediately, I said, this is going to be a long half hour. And I said, Chesterfield are just going to keep moving us from side to side. They're going to go left to right and probe, and they will create a chance. But Dave, you didn't seem, a couple of minutes ago, you didn't seem as enthused about the red card and thought that was probably the final nail in the coffin of you in terms of getting anything out of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought it was like you said, it was, and it's same for Shea Dunkley, our very experienced centre half later in the game. You kind of think the referee's giving all the soft stuff this game. You know, you've seen it after 30 seconds. So if you go in and do anything kind of just above soft, then he's going to be giving you a card. So it just seems a bit when you're over 30, like come on, like you expect it from like an 18-year-old fresh out of the game and enthusiastic, but not someone so experienced. But yeah, then like you say, where we're really struggling at the moment, we've got 8 or 9 injuries, and they're all kind of in the attacking areas. So Paddy Madden, who's like a big summer signings, not played yet. Liam Mandeville, who's generally on the right, was a big engine for us, and Ryan Colclough on the left, and a few others we've been missing. So we didn't, like, if we'd have had attacking options to bring on and freshen it up and try and take advantage of some tired legs when you were down to 10 men, I'd have maybe been a bit more confident. We could have found a way. We could have stuck on a second striker. We could have done something a little bit different, but we didn't really have any options on the bench when that happened. It had to be kind of those attacking four to try and force the goals. And when they've been plugging away all match, then, you know, you've got some kind of relatively tired legs up against a very compact team against 10. It kind of felt like the script was slightly written in a way, and it was, to be fair, the noticeable difference I've seen from the National League to League Two coming into it this year is the defenders are much better at blocking shots and blocking balls and putting their bodies on the line. You don't really get that as much in the National League. You get your shots away, you test the goalkeeper, and goes in more often than not. We scored a hatful of goals last year. This season, looking at the match stats of all the games we've played so far, blocks like Salford last week, you this week, you know, you've got defenders that will stick the face in the line and kind of protect that goal at all costs, and that's kind of the narrative it seemed to follow.
Yeah, I mean, we've already mentioned it, but yeah, Gills just went very compact. They made the gaps between the back four and the middle four very, very small, and just left Marcus Wiley just to be a lone furrow up front and just basically tried to turn that back four around every time we had the chance to clear it. But we knew chances were going to come for the Spy Rights Reese, and there was another one. I think there was another pinball in our box, and it's that man Dobber again. Shot was blocked. I think got hacked up in the air, then sort of headed out to safety. And then Paul Cook gambled, Dave, and made his first change. I think it was Daley Campbell came off, and Michael Jacobs, again, vastly experienced at a higher level than League Two, came on. I get the thinking behind it. Obviously, it's a forward-thinking substitution, because I said during the game, he just got told to just go and stand very high on that far touchline. And it was almost like, right, he's your extra man. We'll just cheat and leave him out there. But I was quite surprised that the lad came off, because I thought he was really, really good. Certainly in an attacking sense, when the game went to 10 versus 11, it seemed to be him all the time that was getting good delivery into the box. I mean, he created the one for Markande that was offside. I think it was his cross first half that was the one for Markande that went over the bar. I just thought he was generally a threat, and I was quite surprised that he was taken off, and not going to lie, a little bit relieved as well.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a fitness thing, maybe, because we've got Raheem Shackelford, who's our first choice right back, is out until December. So he was on trial, kind of probably to come in as a second choice right back over the summer. And then we signed Devon Tanton, who has actually got a cap for Colombia, who's a Fulham, was Fulham's kind of player of the season. And then he's out for like a week or two with like a slight muscle thing, who looks like a great player. So I think Daley Campbell's kind of building up his fitness a bit, and probably is the only guy at right back at the moment. So it might have been kind of an eye on that maybe. And obviously we've done it a few times in pre-season where we've gone to 3 at the back and then kind of played wing backs and stuck someone extra up front. I'm surprised. I think that was probably the kind of a rough idea, that, like you say, you put an attacking player at right back because they're getting that much space down that side, stick someone there that's got a really good delivery. But yeah, it didn't quite work. And like you say, Daley Campbell was really dangerous throughout that game. I thought he had a good game at right back. So it didn't quite work, I don't think, as he expected it to, that substitution. But like, if Liam Mandeville's fit, he's played quite a bit at right back as an attacking right back. If Tanton is, he would probably be there as well. So it's probably a bit of a needs must kind of thing, which it sounds like you guys are facing the same thing at the moment. It's
we've got loads,
an injury thing. It's the kind of rhythm and the momentum that you expect to have as National League champions, and then you go up into a new league, you expect to have that momentum going into it. But I think we've been rocked off a little bit of that momentum slightly, just from some of the injuries that we've had and having to bring in signings and bed them in and stuff like that, which maybe had a bit of an effect.
Yeah, we are similar. I mean, we now got, well, I'll say our first choice goalkeeper out, Jake Turner. He ruptured his ankle in training on Thursday. We've got Connor Masterson, who won Player of the Year, injured. I'm not sure when he's back. We've not seen Ethan Coleman yet in the middle of the park, who was Player of the Year last season. that was Josh Andrews' first appearance of the season. We've not seen Elliot Nevitt, who we signed. So it's just, we've had to change the whole way we wanted to play through pre-season. But yeah, I get, and like you said, the same. It's part of the game. You just have to get on with it and crack on and find ways and find solutions. But there was another double change, Reece, for Chesterfield shortly after. And I thought this was, again, kudos to us that we managed to see off players of calibre of Will Grigg and Mark Handay. And like Dave's alluded to, it wasn't two familiar names that they were bringing on in Drummond and Metcalf, again, due to the injury crisis. But again, I thought that was another massive tick to us as a collective to see a player of the calibre of Will Grigg and Mark Handy, who was playing in the Championship not so long ago, to see them taken off when they need a goal with about 10 minutes to go was a massive hats off to our back four and our midfield and just our absolutely brilliant work ethic.
Absolutely. I mean, for what it's worth, I didn't really see Will Grigg's impact in the game too much. It wasn't anything that popped out for me throughout the whole game. And I mean, McCandy was much more influential for some of that game. You could see him trying to do things, but in the same merit, I think we testament to the whole defense and the whole squad. Actually, we just held these Chesterfield bigger players off throughout that game, and I thought actually we did excellently well just to see that game through to its ultimate 1-0 conclusion. And yeah, I think it goes to show there's more than just football ability. I think it's the trust in the man next to you, knowing that you're going to do each other's roles, having that flexibility as well to fill in gaps that other players have gone to address something else on the pitch. And I think that camaraderie, that chemistry that I think we have built over pre-season, which I think has lacked in seasons before, is really paying off in situations like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you say, we had George Lapsley was cramping up, had to go and play as an orthodox box-to-box midfielder. Well, I say box-to-box, he had to just go and play as a defend our box midfielder, more to the point. But we had Armani Little, immaculate again, who missed all of pre-season. Where Robbie McKenzie had to play two positions. Marcus Wiley, again, we've mentioned, was struggling and probably blowing on, running on absolute empty then. First experience of league football. Yeah, I think it was at this point that I just looked at the clock on the stadium and I thought it had stopped or was going backwards, because that last 10 minutes took an absolute eternity. It's weird, isn't it, perspective? Because Dave, you're probably looking at it and thinking it's going ridiculously fast.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I say, I think, and Paul Cook in his post-match interview, I thought summed it up quite well in that he said that we brought chaos to the last 5 or 10 minutes. The players got obviously frustrated that they've been trying to go round you and through you and left to right and everything else for 30 minutes or more and not had much to show for it. So actually then the frustration comes in a little bit, and instead of us keep hammering away at you and creating those chances and us being the calm, composed ones and you being the ones panicking and having to try and boot the ball over the ground, it kind of became the opposite, and we ended up being the ones that brought a bit of chaos to it and made it a bit easier for you in the last 5 minutes. So I think that's when Paul Cook spoke in his post-match interview, he said that was his only frustration from the match, really. He was quite happy with how they played and everything up until probably the last 5 minutes, when they just lost their heads a bit, probably out of the frustration of everything else that had happened previously in the match.
Yeah, and I think Mark Bonner said similar. There was a change just before that, Reece. I think we made a double switch, didn't we? Finally, George Lapsley and Marcus Wiley were able to get off and have a rest, and we got Johnny Williams and Josh Andrews on, and Josh had an impact in the game to a degree, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I think there was. We're talking about that crossbar again. Huge scramble in our box. I think it's a through ball that gets played, and Robbie McKenzie's just gone in at centre half, makes an absolutely brilliant interception. It gave me horrible flashbacks to Darren Carr at Wembley in '99. He makes a brilliant block, and then you think they're going to score from where it's landed. Luckily for us, after a little bit of hesitation, I felt Tom Naylor takes the shot and lobs it over everyone, but it hits the bar. And then Shadogi does what Shadogi does, decides to chest it and bicycle kick it in his own area. And I think Mark Bonner referred to this in his post-match press conference as absolute carnage, which is what it was. And Dave said that as well. The last couple of minutes were just absolutely mental. It became not schoolboy football, but like you say, everyone was a bit panicked. Chesterfield were so frantic in trying to get it into a dangerous area. We were as equally frantic trying to get it out of a dangerous area that most of it just went up in the air and straight back down again, it felt.
I tell you what it felt like. It felt like sort of the last minute of playtime, and the teacher's coming out with the bell to get everyone in, and it's last goal wins, and everyone's just going a little bit crazy. It's what it kind of felt like, really. It was that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, that is probably a good way to sum it up. Everyone was just a little bit delirious at this point, and I think, like you say, even the fans were running on fumes. So Christ knows what the players were trying to do. There was a couple more yellows then for Tom Naylor and Che Dunkley. Dave, were they for dissent? Because I don't remember much in terms of fouls. They both seem to get booked at the same time.
I think the Tom Naylor one was definitely for dissent. I think the Che Dunkley one might have been for a shirt pull or a block or something or other. I'm not sure, but it could have been. Che Dunkley could have said something, because certainly the second yellow he got, I didn't even think was a foul. He just kind of puts his leg out to block the ball. The player kind of falls over behind him. It's kind of nothing. It's a nothing. It could be a foul, but it's a nothing instant, really. I wonder whether he had said something to the referee before, and it became a good chance for the referee to go, oh, right, well, I'm going to give you the red then. It was ridiculous, and that's where Paul Cook talks about chaos in that game. We should have just been, that chance that we created for Naylor was just a good bit of play. You create a chance. If Naylor's on his right foot, it's a goal, but it's on his wrong foot, and it kind of shows how effective Naylor is in midfield rather than defence, because he was in double figures as the holding midfielder last season from there. So hopefully he'll be back there sooner rather than later. And then Berry kind of blasts it over, and you kind of think we should be following that trend in the last few games and not Dunkley getting involved in like silly little soft things that the referee's going to give. So I don't think he'll deservedly or not sits out a match now, which is annoying, and especially because I was looking at it and thinking, oh, it's all right because he'll miss the EFL Trophy match on Tuesday night away at Lincoln, but no, he misses Grimsby at home instead the following weekend. So
the EFL Trophy is the only one that's an independent competition, isn't it? Yeah. So Max Amar and Che Dunkley will be getting a run out in the week when they probably didn't want to.
Well, maybe they can go and have dinner together or something, or go to Meadowhall or something. Have an afternoon out together.
On the red card, Reece, Dave's saying it's much ado about nothing, but again, it comes back for me to the fact that Che Dunkley, a man of that experience, knowing that you've got a referee who probably wants to be a little bit centre of attention throughout the afternoon and has made some very quirky calls, we'll call it, to be polite. You've given him a decision to make, because regardless of whether there's contact, his studs are up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, let's flip it and ask it from another fan perspective. If that's Josh Andrews on Che Dunkley, maybe Dave and Chesterfield fans are saying it is a foul and a card. So does it come back to Che showing a very vast lack of experience and know-how, when you're ultimately putting yourself in a position where the referee can send you off?
I mean, that's always a risk. If you carry a yellow card from any length of time or short time in the game, you have to change your approach no matter what. That chance where you might be going for a 50-50, you have to think, okay, should I be going for this or not, and try to approach it from a different perspective or a different way to trying to mitigate that potential of getting another booking. I don't know. The foul yesterday, which Dunkley essentially made to get his second yellow card, I saw it in the replay, and I tell you what, I thought it was, from my angle on that viewpoint, I did feel it was a little bit harsh, actually. I think it's a foul, but that's probably about it. But I think if you give a referee a decision to make the chaos of the game, and he's a bit frantic at the moment, the referee probably the back of the mind, I could even it up now. I've got the opportunity to make it even. I think it kind of culminates to that final point of, okay, so that no matter what foul Dunkley was going to make, I think he was always going to get a yellow. It kind of just seemed to be the ultimate end conclusion. But yeah.
It makes his walk back to his car a little bit easier, doesn't it? When he leaves the stadium after the match, because like you say, throughout the match there's a few times when Chesterfield players went in for things. I know there was a few things with Ollie Banks that usually he kind of sticks out in games sometimes, the way he plays the game and stuff like that. So you could kind of see that maybe in the back of a referee's head, they think, oh, I've got a chance, like you say, to even it up a little bit. Or maybe earlier on I didn't do that right or didn't do that right, but you just kind of think, it's just a bit soft, isn't it? You just think don't really need to happen, does it?
No, but I think that's what the bottom line is here. I think we're all in agreement that a lot of the yellow cards that came could have just been, like you say, you could have just gone, look, just be careful. And then you ended with 11v11 and you end with a proper game for the last 30 minutes. dare I say, you might have got something out of the game if it had been 11v11, Dave, because we'd have been more forward thinking and probably on the front foot a little bit more than we had to be because of the circumstance. But yeah, it was a strange afternoon for the man in the middle. That was it, full time, finally. 3 points for us. A fairly long trek home for Chesterfield after an early start, and yeah, we're top of the league. So that's always nice. But I've just got a couple of questions for both of you before we start wrapping this up. We've sort of touched on the referee throughout the show, so I don't want to go over it too much. I've written down for the referee, both second yellow cards I thought were correct based on how he'd refed the game. But again, we've already mentioned common sense could have been used a lot more for me. The thing that frustrated me was there was a challenge by Jaden Clark midway through the first half where the ball broke on the halfway line. Jaden gets ball and man from the side. I don't think it's from behind. Referee couldn't blow his whistle fast enough to give a foul. But there was a tackle just before then by Jay Dunkley on Jack Nolan on the edge of our box or in the box. That was absolutely fine. So again, comes back to consistency for me. And Reese, I know you sometimes think I'm a little bit harsh on officials, but I've done very well. It's game 4 and I've not mentioned them yet, so I'm going to have a little rant. But I will come to you first because I know you try to stick up for him a little bit more than I do. But I just thought, I'm not even sure what to say about him because the decisions were just so erratic and so inconsistent that I wasn't sure whether he was trying to help us out, whether he was trying to help Chesterfield out, whether he was trying to hinder both teams, or whether he was just a bit crap.
All of the above. It's
and scene.
It looked like it could, but I don't know if this referee's refereed any games before because it could have been his first one this season, and he's trying to do a bit of a showman.
Charles Breakspear, I think, who's fairly experienced in the EFL. I'm sure of it.
Which is it just the problem I had with the refereeing yesterday, and like I say, you stick up for us, but I really struggled with the lack of flowing of the game. It just was stop start, and it felt like, and then when you give a yellow that early to OG, you've set your standard now, and you have to adhere to that. You can't change that now. And that you have to try and adhere to that. So it didn't surprise me there were loads of yellow cards being dished out yesterday because you gave one in the first 4 seconds, or like Vinnie Jones style, just gave one straight away. Although Vinnie Jones's one's always a little bit more violent, let's be honest. But regardless, giving all these yellow cards very early on, I just thought it was a little bit card happy. And I just didn't think he allowed the game to flow as much as possible. When you got teams like Gillingham and Chesterfield playing who are going at each other, it's a disservice to the game that could potentially be played for the full 90 minutes for me. So for what it's worth, yes. Was he consistent? Not really. Did he make the game flow? No. And I think that's probably one of the most important things a ref has to give to the game is those two things. It's not about the referee. It's about the game he's managing as a referee and officiating. And for me, it was a poor performance from the referee overall.
So, Dave, I think we're all agreeing that it was a good game in spite of the referee, because generally, if you say to someone, oh, we've just watched a game and the crossbar's been hit twice, the post's been hit twice, there's been numerous chances, there's been good football, there's been this and that, you go, oh, the game must have just flowed. It didn't. So, and we've mentioned he was card happy there, Reese has said, but another thing that I found really interesting and a little bit frustrating was first half, couldn't get his cards out quick enough for us. Clark, Ogie, Amar second half, then the red card. But there was absolutely nothing for Chesterfield until literally the final 3 minutes when he booked Naylor and Dunkley and then sent Dunkley off. And like you say, you can't help but feel he was just trying to make it look like he'd refereed the game in a consistent way when he really, really hadn't.
It's frustrating, yeah, because we've had two kind of almost complete opposite games 2 weeks running. We played Salford at home last week, and Salford came out to kind of smash and grab, kind of literally, and the referee didn't want to book anyone, so the tackles got progressively harder and harder and harder throughout the match, to the point where people were going in 2-footed on players and stuff like that, because the referee had not taken control of the match a little bit earlier and kind of set down a bit of a standard. And it was kind of the opposite today, and that he obviously wanted to just book someone within the first few minutes to kind of give everyone a message or something. For me, it'd just be, a word for the two linesmen who could have two different linesmen on a completely different day, and a ball's gone over the line from a free kick, and a goal's not offside, and we go home 2-1 winners, and happy days. So it's just, I don't know. It won't be the first or the last time, will it, that we get frustrating men in the middle. It's funny, you spend a lot of time when you spend 6 seasons in the National League, and you get a lot of people that where you do get a half decent ref, they're off to the EFL before even the end of the match. So you kind of hope that they're going to be a little bit better when you get into the Football League, and then you get a kind of a bit of a rude awakening. But I suppose they have a hard job to do. They have split decisions. I'd love it if at the top in the referees' headquarters, whatever, they just let referees be their own people a little bit more, and kind of not give them all of these standards that they kind of force them to follow. Because I remember back in the day, you would get someone like Uriah Rennie that would come and referee a match, and you'd be like, all right, he's going to give cards for everything when he comes in. I have others that were a little bit softer and would let it play. I'd kind of, if you had referees where you kind of knew that some with slightly different personalities and ref the game slightly differently, I think otherwise you seem to have referees that are trying to impress the assessor or do everything right by the assessor in the stands, and probably sometimes a double, triple thinking what their instinct would be in that scenario. So
yeah, maybe it's just all become a bit robotic because there are so many things that they have to try and remember. There you go, Reece. I've been nice to them right at the end.
It checks that box that you have to fulfil, so thank you.
Yeah, see, exactly that. There we go. We can all go home happy. Dave, from Chesterfield's point of view, absolutely nothing to worry about.
Oh God, no.
Good side, you've got good players, you've got people to come back, which give you more depth. You'll score goals. I don't think you're defensively as bad as Notts County were last season. So I think you'll be all right at that end of the pitch, albeit there was probably a few occasions yesterday where you did your best to give us a leg up more than once. But I think I had you just outside the playoffs in my 1 to 24s at the start of the season. And that was probably because of the fact that you've not signed them defenders at the time, because I did mine sort of end of July. So it's always a little bit difficult, but you'll be there or thereabouts in terms of challenging for the top 7, I think.
Yeah, I think we have to be aiming for top 7. The players that they've brought in and that are yet to come back, like your Maddens and people like that, will obviously add another dimension. We've signed this Jensen Metcalf from Everton, who was there. He was one of the 20 Premier League youngsters to watch or something. So I think he'll be slotting into centre midfield pretty soon. And then we've got a few defenders to come back. So they've kind of got players to come back all throughout the pitch. I think hopefully we're just the type of team that will get stronger as the season goes on. I think we maybe need to get a little bit streetwise to this division in some ways. Certainly there's some players in the team that are learning this level again, or learning it for the first time. So you hope that the experience that you've added in kind of carries them along a bit. And I think we just need to get a bit smarter on the pitch, maybe at some points in games, which is probably the thing that needs to come. But I'm hopeful. We've played 4 games so far. We've played well in all 4. We'd probably feel like we could have 10 points, and we've got 5. But this time last season, Stockport had 4 points after 4 games. I think Wrexham had 5 points after 4 games last season. So you kind of hope that you kind of just grow into the season as it goes along. It's certainly not like we've had 5 points but feel like we could have ended up with 1. It feels like the opposite. So you have to kind of remain optimistic and not kind of. There was a few fans yesterday after the match that were talking about plan Bs and all this kind of other stuff. And you kind of think, actually, you don't need to reinvent the wheel at the moment. You just need to keep doing the same thing and results come. And obviously Gillingham away is one of the fixtures. You look on it and you go, that's one of the toughest fixtures you'll have this season. It's a long away trip ticked off, which is quite nice. So, you kind of put that one to bed, played quite well, maybe deserved something. Ultimately, Gillingham defended really resolutely and scored a good goal. So you deserve 3 points from it. And then you just go on to the next one. So it'll be a tasty home game against Grimsby next week, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Exactly. 4 games out of 46. Plenty of miles to travel and plenty of points to win. Reece, from our point of view, is 4 down, 10 points, 3 clean sheets on the spin. We can't really moan given all the circumstances, and I don't want to keep bringing it up, but they're there for all to see. We've got loads of injuries, similarly to Chesterfield. So to have 10 points, only conceded 1 goal at this stage is absolutely phenomenal with all the players that we've got coming back. I was a big fan of Neil Harris we won our first 4 games 1-0 last season. This feels massively more sustainable in terms of what we're building, in terms of the balance of the squad, the structure of how we play, the system that we play, the mentality that we're playing with. Not that I'm saying we had a poor mentality under Neil Harris, but there's just something, I don't know. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but it feels very special. That there's something very special might be in the offing. And I've seen a lot of stuff on social media making links to Martin Allen's 2012-13 side. We have to be encouraged. We can't keep sitting here and going, oh, it's only this and it's only that. We've taken 10 points from 4 games. We're averaging 2.5 points a game, which is ridiculous. That's not going to happen for the rest of the season. I know that, but let's enjoy it.
I mean, cast your mind back a couple of seasons if you dare to. When we were out on the pitch, it just sometimes you feel you go to a game and go, I hope we have a chance to score. And I hope that we can put some passes together to make that. Like now, I go to the game and know that's going to happen. Like I know we're going to make something of this, and that's reassuring. And that comes from the chemistry and the squad development that's happened over the summer and the season before as well. But it does feel different, and it feels like going to Priestfield again is a place which, is exciting for everyone, and we want it to be tricky for everyone to come and visit to. We know it's most teams' longest away day of the season. It's one of them anyway, and I think we're starting to make it really a good fortress again, and we're getting results on the road. And historically, Gillingham have never been particularly good on the road, and I still think, it's a different feeling, and that's resonates through the whole of the fan base as well, which is promising. Not to get too ahead of myself as well.
Dave, back to you. I think we touched on the spy rights already. What was your thoughts on Gillingham, not just in isolation yesterday, but in terms of where us and you will potentially ultimately finish come 46 games?
Well, before the season, I thought you'd be top 5, and I still think you'll be top 5. I think you could easily end up in one of the 3 promotion spots. You've obviously really well organised, got some good attacking players. You've got you've proved yesterday you've got defenders that will put themselves on the line. You've got a manager with a good pedigree. You've got all the ingredients to be a title challenger in that team, in that league. Obviously, it's a long season, innit? Loads of stuff can happen. You get a key player and then they get injured, or something happens, or someone poaches your manager, or anything can happen, can't it? But I think you have to be optimistic. I think it's just nice as fans if you're supporting a club at a time when you can go to a match with a smile on your face and leave with a smile on your face, regardless of whether you win, lose, or draw. If your club's in a relatively good place and you've got players that you kind of have a bit of an affinity with and kind of like on the pitch, and you can have fun at a match. Surely that's all we all want as football fans. Certainly, like from our position of our club over the last year, we had owners that we didn't like, and we went through tons of managers in the National League, and then we've got new owners, and Paul Cook's come back. We've got a big community thing happening around the town that centres around the football club, and we're getting 9,000 people in the ground on home match days, which is great. And you kind of just think, it's just nice to have a football club that you kind of enjoy going and watching them. And I thought it was a match yesterday, although we came out on the wrong end of it, where you think, this is kind of why it's nice being back in the Football League again. You get to play proper teams that you've been used to playing throughout your whole football watching life. So it was. I think Gillingham will be up there. I'd still say top 5, and I'd say if you keep that defensive form on and keep players fit, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be top 3 come the end of the season.
I'm not saying anything. But no, I totally agree about the stuff about it, because it's not just about the football result, because we all laugh, don't we? Like, especially when we do long away days and we go, oh, good day ruined by the football and that type of thing, and we joke about it. But yeah, that there has to be a match day experience. And similarly to what you've said now, I think you've got your new owners to get you out of the National League. Luckily for us, we got our new owners, which prevented us from dropping into the National League, and the community feel is a lot better now. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the 2 clubs. Like, I think we're averaging over 7,000 for the 2 home games this season, which is unheard of over the last few years, because generally we've been rubbish and people don't want to watch us. Reece, final question. I thought, not question, statement. Yesterday, I said as we walked out, I said to a couple of people, like people were sort of saying, "Cool, that was good for different reasons." I thought that was better than Carlisle for different reasons, and also we're a bloody good side without the football. But that's the thing I've noticed over the last 3 games in particular. We've gone to Morecambe and we've been on the back foot and we found a way to nick it. We went to Fleetwood. We weren't at our best, but we made sure that we didn't concede. Yesterday, we've just had to bank up and be really resolute and defensive for half an hour against a really good side that keep the ball all day long. And we've managed to get ourselves over the line. Like the caption was for the Matchday Live, we found a way. I think out of possession, we've been absolutely superb so far this season. And I want to give a shout out to Jules Lapsley and Marcus Wiley yesterday. I know there was Shad Ogie and Amani Little and Robbie McKenzie, who scored the goal, played centre half, played holding midfield, did absolutely everything aside from probably going goal. But for George Lapsley, who's not started a game, has been transfer listed. And for Marcus Wiley making his Football League debut at 25, I thought them two were absolutely brilliant in leading from the front yesterday afternoon.
I mean, you obviously summed up excellently well, but it's very easy to overlook off the ball accolades and attributes and plays. And I think yesterday really exposed how good we are out of possession and how difficult we make it for teams to try and get past us. And that comes from good chemistry. That comes from knowing the man next to you is going to support you in X, Y, and Z motion of the game. You know, you can't do that in isolation. You can't be an individual player and have a squad performance that are good out of possession. It's very hard to be able to do that. Everyone needs to be pulling in the same direction and supporting one another off the ball and giving 110% across the park. And I think we've got a squad that will do that. And as Dave's alluded to, like we're getting everything in front of blocks, we're getting everything in the way, and we're doing all we can to stop the ball going in the back of the net. And yeah, we will run our luck sometimes. That's okay. That will happen. But it's nice for once to be on the good side of that. But the luck doesn't come on its own. You know, you have to work towards that luck. You have to earn, absolutely. Yeah. And I think yesterday we showed that, and I would agree with you that the performance yesterday was it was different, but it was definitely for me much more preferable than the Carlisle game where we were happy just to put the ball in the back of the net 4 times. You know, we didn't need to defend as resolute, but
which is great because we go to football to be entertained, like Dave said plenty of times, and we want to enjoy ourselves. And if you win 4 every week, lovely. But yesterday felt to me that's a game that gets you promoted. That's a result that gets you into the top 3. That's the difference between finishing 4th and getting in the automatic spaces. Dare I say it, that's the difference between runners up and being title winners. Not that I'm saying that's what's going to happen, but that was a proper difference-making performance and result. I felt.
I think I said that to you. I think I messaged you about that. I said this is the game we'll look back on, and when we've played 44 games, and go, my goodness me, I'm glad we found a way to win that, because that's making a difference now. And that's what I think it will be.
Which is what I thought as well. And then Mark Bonner completely dismissed that in his post-match press conference and made me laugh, because I think again it was Matt from Radio Kent said, "Will we look back at that come April, May, and go, quad, do you remember that 1-0 win against Chesterfield?" And he went, "I'm sorry to be flippant." He said, "I don't care about, mate." He said, "All I'm worried about is celebrating tonight, preparing for Tuesday, preparing for next Saturday." He said, "Because all I can care about is the here and now." And I think he's right in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because if we keep taking care of the here and now, May hopefully will ultimately take care of itself.
Absolutely. That's a really nice response from Bonner, actually. That's a really good response.
I just love how he says how he feels. He doesn't dress it up. There's none of this media speak. He gets asked a question and he answers it how he wants. And I think that's brilliant. I think Paul Cook's probably similar, isn't he, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think after that game, he was like, well, we played really well. We created chances. He was kind of happy with the majority of it, apart from that last few minutes. And yeah, he is very much a football man. He's a Liverpool season ticket holder, so he's watching Liverpool whenever he's not in the Kop, when he's not managing Chesterfield. So I think he is at heart a football man and wants football to be played in the right way, and can kind of accept it when we lose, and kind of doesn't get too high when we win. You know, I hate to say it, but it'd make a good playoff final, wouldn't it? You never know. Might be that might be looking back in May if it ends up being the playoff final. But you know, yeah. So I think it's two good managers, aren't they? I bet they had a good post match drink together.
Oh yeah, I think they're two gaffers that you'd love to have a beer with. I think you could just sit there and talk to them all day long. Yeah, absolutely. Right, gentlemen, that seems like a very nice place to say full time on this episode. That has been really good fun. Like I say, Dave, really do appreciate your time, because I do understand it's not always nice having to talk about defeats, but you've put a very positive spin on it. And like I say, I think you're similar to myself in Reece, that we do try to be glass half full whenever we can. Yeah. That's not to say that we won't be constructively critical when we have to be. Gills fans, Chesterfield fans, thank you very much for the ongoing support. If you're still watching at this point, then I really do appreciate it. Please, as I say all the time, consider hitting that like button, and please keep pressing subscribe. 3,349 now. I've just checked. It'd be nice to get to 3,350 today. Like I've said, Dave's details are in the description at the bottom of this video, so go and give him a follow for all Chesterfield perspective on things throughout the season. We'll be back Tuesday night in Mems Priestfield for the glamorous Bristol Street Motors Trophy. Gillingham versus Peterborough. Be quite a good side, I think, that Gills are going to put out with all the injuries coming back. Fingers crossed, he says. And then there will be a match preview later in the week with a Doncaster fan as we look forward to, I think it's a clash between the top two. But until then, I hope you've had a good weekend. And most importantly, up the Gills.